Hello and welcome in this lesson. It's going to be about basic aircraft handling. We are right now located in the south of Corsica, between Corsica and the Sardaigne. It's in the Mediterranean Sea, and we are just like right in front of us, Bonifacio. Try to turn, give you a better view. And we are flying the 152 Cessna. It's actually when I did my commercial license through the 150. It's pretty much the same aircraft. Very small, very basic, and that is exactly why I'm choosing this aircraft to show you some basic maneuvers, because here we have very basic and easy to understand with the six-pack, like some people like to call it, a steam gauge instrument. Is not glass cockpit like we can see on the more modern airplane. And why is a little bit easier? Because we can just really see each instrument give us one indication. When we have a glass cockpit, everything is in the same place and can be confusing, and when we are not used to fly an airplane, can be a little bit sometimes overwhelming on finding the information we want. Here I'm leveling, I'm climbing slowly, and I'm going to review quickly some instruments, basic instruments, and what we found in this cockpit, and what we are looking at when we're doing the exercise. So the first here is the airspeed indicator, and we see we have some tapes, some colors. And we have the green tape, the white tape, yellow tape, and red. Green tape is the normal operation, as you always want to be in this green in all the time. You're allowed to go in the yellow tape a day like today, when it's calm, no turbulence, no nothing. The red limits here is the VNE, speed to never exceed, otherwise you damage the structural aircraft structure. And you have the white tape, and that is the one we're going to talk the most during any flight training approaches or anything. Why this white tape is the flap operation speed. So flaps here is this lever. Some airplane has only 3 positions. Is up, takeoff, and landing. This one is more, as like 1, 2, 3, 4 position, and it gives you this position on a degrees. So if I put one flaps down, I'm going to see a flap is going to go down here on both sides. And remove the flaps. And we see when we add the flaps, what's happening is put the flaps and look, the aircraft is climbing. You can also see the altimeter is climbing, because but you also, the airspeed is going down. So it's going down for 2 reasons. First of all, because the plane is climbing, so we're losing airspeed. But also we're losing airspeed a little bit because we're creating drag. So when we pull the flaps, we create drags, but we're also creating lift, allowing the plane to fly slower. And it's very useful for when we land, we're doing a landing somewhere. So that is the artificial horizon. This little knob here is to adjust this little aircraft here. And flight simulator doesn't matter, because we all have the same height, I believe. But in the real aircraft, you actually adjust that on the ground to make sure you show level when you're actually leveling. Here I'm climbing. So I'm not going to try. Here we have a clock. Altimeter, so it shows the altitude in feet. So the big number is 1,000 feet, represented by the small needle, or the 500 feet or 100 feet represented by the small needle. This little needle here represents 10,000 feet. So here we can see a needle is almost at at 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So yeah, it was almost at 4, and we also are at 4, so it does match. And inside this here, we have this altimeter setting. So if I move that, we can see this little windows is moving on both sides. And that is an altimeter setting. As a course, a full course just about that. I won't get too much in details, but what is good about this altimeter setting is you have the inch of mercury on the right side, so that is good if you're flying in North America. And you have the hectopascal, and that is good if you're flying anywhere else around the world, mostly. Go back, that is a navigation instrument. We don't need that at all. It will be more for another course for people who like flying traditional IFR, or just use that as a head to help on navigation. Even on VFR can be useful. That is the vertical speed indicator. It shows the amount of feet per 100. So like I'm about 350 feet a climb per minute. And this instrument is, a lot of people doesn't know, but is actually show the rate of climb 7 seconds after it happened. So if I push forward, it's not showing here, so I guess maybe a flight simulator things. But you can have, in a real plane, you can have a delay of 7 seconds, I believe. Here you have the heading indicator. It's actually a gyroscopic instrument. By pushing this instrument, you can actually adjust your heading. Because it's gyroscopic, what it's doing is you set that up on the ground, either with your magnetic compass or with your the runway heading sometime. Or you can have a spot in the airport where you can also adjust your compass. So because it's magnetic, because it's work with a gyroscopic, so it's a big vacuum inside spinning something, making you can turn, and it's going to maintain the same heading even though the plane is turning. However, with the motion and time, acceleration, deceleration, error can happen with some time, so it's nice to always double check when you're on steady flight. Make sure your compass is actually lined up properly. Stuff you don't really need to do if you're flying glass cockpits is all set up and you don't need to change that. But the old steam gauge, it does it. So that is the turn coordinator. It's actually an important instrument. Nobody look ever, usually. But this little board here and this airplane does give you, tell you if you do a proper turn or if you don't do a good turn. The rule is if you have a ball like here, the ball is on the right. To get the ball off the right, you have to push with your feet, your right feet, to recenter the ball. And if you're a soccer player, we could say the feet kick the ball. So it's a good way to remember. Here's a section that actually is telling you if you have a proper vacuum happening. So you will know if your instrument actually is can be used. If it's too much or too low, that means there's not enough suction. That means it's most likely your heading is not going to be a good heading. Here we have fuel quantity. We have 2 tanks. Fuel selector on some plane. That one is on off. Some plane you have left, right, and center. So often you have to make sure you're on center, like that you don't burn the fuel only on one side. Oil temperature, oil pressure, carburetor. That is only aircraft with the old carburetor has it. With the fuel injection, you don't have that. Technically, the carburetor, the way it's designed, you can have moisture build up, and this moisture can freeze because temperature goes low, and can block the air intake of your engine, and you lose power. So usually when you pull that off, if you look at your RPM, you should lose about 50 RPM. Yeah, that's about right. You lose about 50 RPM. So up, you put it back on because you're putting warm air. So warm air is actually less air in a warm air, so the engine burning less fuel, so you lose on RPM. If you will have frozen curb, it will be frozen. When you push that, you will actually see the RPM going back up. That is your power levers, mixtures. Mixtures, you can lean that a little bit, and because there's less air, more you climb in the air, less you have air. So less air you have, that means ratio fuel air will be unbalanced. You need about 7 volume of air for 1 volume of fuel. So because you climb is less and less air, but the amount of fuel remains the same. By leaning the plane, you can actually remove the fuel, quantity of fuel going in the engine, keeping the good ratio air fuel and giving a better combustion. We are not flying high enough for that. It's not a big deal. We also use that to turn off the engine after a flight. That's pretty much it. All these little things there is the just circuit breakers. And that one, no, I was hoping that one could work. Here you have some lights, taxi lights. Actually, we want taxi light, landing light. And straws are on. That's pitot heat. We always use pitot heat usually. And that's it. That's it for the cockpit. Here we have the radios. So that is COM1 and COM2. That means this airplane is capable to listen to 2 frequencies at the same time. And it can be pretty useful for if you work with ATC and at the same time you need to listen to ATs. For any reason you need to have a second frequency. This COM2 is the one. So if each radios has so I'm going to try to retrim my plane properly here. Climb a little bit too high. Each radio has, we see 2 windows. So this windows is the active frequency and this windows is a standby frequency. By pressing this button here, we're going to switch frequencies, as we can see. So allow you, let's say ATC code you this change frequency, contact, I don't know, Marseille control on 124.85. You set up your frequency on this one, the switch, and let's say you made a wrong frequency, you didn't pull 85, but you put 855 or 86. You switch, it's not working. So you can always come back to the old frequency, and you like that you always talk to somebody in the sky in a control zone without knowing which frequency you're supposed to be on. That is good too, but it's also good if you're on the ground. You can pull your ground frequency, tower frequency, and when you switch from tower you can pull your departure frequency, and you can always be ahead of the game. That is COM1, and that is COM2, like we talked, same thing, the active and standby frequency. And that are the navigation. So that is nav1. We see the nav over there. It's connected to this one, and nav2 is connected to this one. Same thing with an active and standby frequency. That is the audio panel. So like the microphone, if you press the push to talk, so this little button here, you will talk to COM1. But if you want to talk to COM2, you press number 2. You press push to talk, and you will end up talking to the COM2. Now you have both nav1, nav2. That's for identify. When you tune to a radio navigation, like a VOR or MDB, you want to listen the identification, and you do that by pressing one of these buttons. So you have one for nav1, nav2, and the ADF. ADF is this one. And this one is connected to this frequency over there. GME usually is connected to a nav1 and nav2. That is speaker. That means you have a speaker somewhere on the plane. Might be this thing here. I'm not sure. It's gonna. We're looking here. Sometimes on the side. Anyway, if you don't have a headset, you can use the speaker. and that marker audio, I'm not really sure what marker audio must be for this thing. So that is the European thing. It's for if you shoot an ILS. It's telling you, supposed to tell you where you are in the ILS. I think it's a little bit useless, but whatever. Anyway, we went through a little bit all the system. Here we have the trim. I'm going to show you my trim is a little bit different, but same idea. So that is a trim indicator. It show you where, if you're set up, like here we see a takeoff. So when you take off, part of your checklist to make sure the trim is set up properly.